This is nothing like Ian, but a surge of 3 to 5 feet is going to take out even more of the beaches here on the Treasure Coast.
All right, thanks so much, Michael. We'll certainly be checking back with you as we work our way through the morning. Really interesting to see. I mean, you already got to the beaches have gotten eaten away,
yes,
and this thing hasn't even gotten close just yet. So we're going to see more of that, unfortunately, as we work our way through time. Now, looking at things right now, where they stand, breezy times right now.
Already, and the winds are just going to get worse, of course, as this gets closer to us. So we can see at West Palm Beach, a gust of about 25 miles an hour at this point, and the winds, again, just going to get higher and higher.
Absolutely. So let's take you through it. There's your sort of future radar starting off late this morning. Not a whole lot of activity, but we will start to see, again, even though this thing is still well on off towards the east, outer bands creeping on in here today, throughout the day, and into our Wednesday.
Yeah, so that's going to be the scenario, just going downhill. And I say it's downhill because we're definitely going to be dealing with a big storm system that's coming in. This is going to be a large one that's really put together. So by the time we hit Thursday morning, we're going to see some heavy rain around Whittier, around Vero Beach, and even around Okeechobee.
Looks like overnight Thursday, that's the time frame of sort of the landfall of this system, so some of the worst conditions at that point. But you can see the wind gusts. We'll see that throughout the day, a gusty day. I mean, we saw the shot there with Mike Seidel. I mean, yes, the beach is usually pretty breezy, but it's a little extra breezy right now, and it's only going to get worse as we head on through the day and into tonight.
Yeah, Alex, we're talking about tropical storm force winds. In fact, look at that, around Port Lucie, 60 to 75. Really there, we can see hurricane force winds coming in.
That is in the forecast for this to get to hurricane strength here for us. This is by Thursday, getting the late afternoon. The winds are coming down a bit from that peak of when we see that core of the system driving on by. Then we head north a bit more. Daytona, you're also seeing some gusty winds getting up over 20, sustained right now. Even around Orlando, it's been a bit of a breezy morning.
Yeah, so it's good. It's up and down the peninsula, and it's also in the interior as well. So it's not just a coastal event that we're going to be talking about.
No doubt about it. So there we go, heading into our Wednesday afternoon. Winds continuing to go up 40 to 50 around Daytona, around Orlando as well, around the theme parks, 35 to 40 mile per hour winds. That goes up even more for Thursday morning. That's probably going to be the peak timing of some of the strongest of the winds that Thursday morning into the afternoon.
Yes, and that's going to be the scenario even as we head towards your Friday morning around 9 o'clock, still dealing with some tropical storm force winds in some spots there as well, and then plenty of rain coming in. Look at that, about 3 inches where we're seeing the yellow coloring.
I definitely don't want to underestimate the fact that we'll be talking about some decent rains to deal with here as well with this system. That could lead to some flash flooding.
Yeah. You can also get the latest information.
Well, things will not be so sunny by the sea as Nicole looks to storm the shores. Alerts, they are up from the beaches of South Florida to the Space Coast and the First Coast.
This system's size will be a factor, with threats spreading up the eastern seaboard. And it's not just where you can see the waves that will be an issue. Inland communities also are going to have a problem as well. So we have to watch for that, Alex, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back here to America's Morning Headquarters as we follow what's going on with what is now subtropical storm Nicole. It is starting to strengthen a little bit here, trying to take on a little more tropical characteristics. So that transition to a fully tropical system is occurring now, and more strengthening is also forecast as it gets closer and closer to the Bahamas and then the Sunshine State.
Yeah, Alex. So let's get you caught up with what you need to know right now. Deal with too much rain and a drought, too. Let's start you out with the winter side of this whole thing. So we're looking at this western winter storm, and we have plenty of alerts around. So we do have winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and we also do have winter storm watches for all the areas there shaded in the bluish, tealish colors. We look at the water vapor, and the water vapor really shows you the moisture in the atmosphere, if you will. So where you're looking at the oranges, that's the drier areas. What makes me happy is really showing the greens and the white color. That's the moisture coming in to the Pacific Northwest and even inland. So look around Montana. We're seeing this around Colorado and even back off towards the Dakotas, too. So we start to see heavier rain really coming in around California, and boy, do they need it. I actually spoke to my friend in California, and she's like, Lynette, when are we going to see some rain? Well, you're getting your rain now. So this is news. But again, we just don't want a whole lot. Now, snow lovers, they're loving what's happening around Billings in Montana and also around Salt Lake City. We can see as we time this out, we'll work our way through the morning time frame, and we will see some snow, but we also really start to see that rain coming in to ports of San Francisco, parts of California like San Francisco, also LA. And this is going to be the name of the game. But again, those higher elevations really getting in on that snow around Butte, around Jackson, Boise, Idaho. You're getting in on that snow as well as we head into 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we're also watching through tomorrow these totals to really add up. And Alex, we're really seeing over a foot of snow in some spots. So I know a lot of people are happy about that.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Before you wrap up this segment,
Yeah, you said it, Mike. We'll be watching that very closely, watching it intently on that update. Mike, we'll check back with you there. Breezy times right now there on the east coast of Florida, and it's only going to get windier as we march our way through the next couple of days.
Yeah, so we're already dealing with some winds out there as of now. We can see some of those buoys. Look at that gust up to about 40 miles an hour there. Where you're seeing the pink colors, that's where you're dealing with the higher gusts.
Yeah, absolutely. Even a 45 mile per hour gust as well. So wind extending far away from the center. I mean, the last check, it was close to 400 miles away from the center with those tropical storm force winds. That's a huge zone to deal with. And this is just going to continue to march its way westbound, spreading those strong winds far away. And then as it strengthens a bit more, you can see some of the stronger winds impacting the northern Bahamas. And eventually, as we get a little bit closer to our Thursday morning, hurricane potential, we could be looking at those winds.
Yes, and this is why we say the cone. Yeah, we want you to pay attention to the cone, but not so much because they're far-reaching. These winds are going to be up there. We're really going to feel them as the day goes on and the next days to come for sure.
Next 5 days, looking at the probability of tropical storm force winds. And I mean, we're basically looking at a essential certainty here across the northern Bahamas, 90+%. And then you get over towards the east coast of Florida, that red shading indicating about an 80% opportunity. So it's a foregone conclusion that tropical storm force winds coming into the west coast of Florida, that is something that we are absolutely expecting.
We are going to feel that, and that forecast goes into motion, and we can see this as we go into the evening tonight. We can see still dealing with some very gusty winds out there around Vero Beach. It goes into motion even more, and by your Wednesday morning, that's when we're going to be talking about tropical storm force winds. When we talk about tropical storm force winds, we're looking about 38 mile an hour winds up to about 73 mile an hour winds.
And then once we get into overnight Wednesday, into Thursday morning, look what we've got, those stronger winds as the core of the system starts to move. And now we are around Vero Beach, 60 to 75. So that's when we'll be approaching hurricane status. And then this thing whips across the state and then marches its way off towards the north and the east from there. But before that happens, there's going to be issues right along the coast. Storm surge, something that we absolutely have to pay attention to with this system.
Yes, that wind is really going to push that water in, and that's going to pose a big problem. So you know what? We're answering some of your questions about Nicole.
Yes, so how about we get to it? Robbie, Ian certainly had an impact there, and this system could also have an impact on us as well, Nicole, as it marches its way on through. There's a look. There's Jacksonville. There's Palm Coast. So we're looking there. There's Flagler County itself. We will start to see the impacts. In fact, as we work through the day, some of those outer bands, those downpours will come in, brief downpours, some gusty winds, and then we'll just go downhill from there.
Yes, and of course we have those winds. But I also just want to talk about the fact that, yes, we're going to be dealing with the coast, but inland flooding is going to be concerned, that rain really piling up as well. But the winds are going to be a big deal as we go through the next several days. And then finally, by the time we hit the weekend, things will start to go downhill which we're excited about.
Yes, absolutely. Well, but the West Coast also will be feeling some of the impacts, including there in Tampa. Starting off here late this morning, all is fine around the West Coast here, but that will begin to change. Even some of the outer bands now creeping in by this evening.
Yeah, so then it continues, and by the time we hit about Wednesday, 3 o'clock, we'll still see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms trying to work their way in here. So you definitely need to keep it tuned here because you will feel those impacts as well.
Well, the Weather Channel's team of America's morning headquarters to get you through the mid-morning hours.
And the Weather Channel is tracking systems from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and big things happening all in between that too, Alex.
Yeah, you said it. Now, one system, that is Nicole, that has Florida on alert. This morning, we've got tropical storm watches that actually extend all the way to the west coast of the state.
Wow. And from Siesta Key to Cocoa Beach, it does not look like a storm, but it's on the way. It is on the way, though, so don't let that fool you for sure. And while the tropics won't quit, winter is gearing up in the upper Midwest. We're talking about potential winter, all the rain that's going to be added up with all this as well. So we can start you out with the storm with Nicole, and we do have that rain that will really add up before it's all said and done. My eye always goes to that yellow coloring because that's more of the rain that we'll see, but at least it is a kind of spotty, if you will. So we can see this around Daytona, Orlando, Vero Beach getting in on this, and also to the west, actually to the north of West Palm Beach, I should say. Then we talk about flash flooding, of course, because we do have that rain just really adding up. And overall, we could see about 2 inches before it's all said and done in most spots. But you can see along the coast and even inland, I'm going to put this into motion and you'll see this start to extend. But right through tomorrow morning, we do have the possibility for that flash flooding. Now that goes into motion and it extends further off inland and all the way over to the west coast as well. So as we go in through your Wednesday and your Thursday morning, that begins to expand. The flash flood possibility does. Now, the river gauges in flood stage now, we can see these upside down triangles, and we're talking about the St. Johns River. As for Ian, that stayed up for a very long time with that system. So we're going to watch this probably go up as well. So we're going to watch these rivers as we go through time. Not only are we talking about the coastal flooding, the inland flooding, but the river flooding too. So right now we have the satellite and radar, and it is picking up on a few of those showers, scattered showers and thunderstorms trying to move in along I-95 down off towards Miami. Then we take this hour by hour. We start you out around 11 o'clock. We'll start to see some of the showers and thunderstorms around Orlando. Again, not the best day to head to the parks for sure. But then we see what goes on as we head into Wednesday morning. More of that activity really starts to filter in because that system continues to get closer to us, and it will begin to make landfall as we head early into your Thursday morning. So there you can see it right there. Those rain bands really coming in. Orlando's really going to take that hit around Daytona Beach as well, with that heavy rain coming in across the area. And then it extends. You can see Cedar Key all the way on the other side there, and that's going to be dealing with the rain and also the wind. When you talk about those landfalling systems, well, they can spin up the possibility for some tornadoes. So we actually do have the severe weather threat for your tomorrow from Daytona all the way down to West Palm Beach. So we definitely have to keep our eye on that. We look at that rainfall forecast, and the further to the south you go, you can see what's happening around Palm Coast. Once again, we're looking at about 3 inches. So Alex, it is going to be just days of rain, days of wind. It's going to be a rough go of things for sure.
Yeah, prolonged having to deal with this thing, no doubt about it. And of course, we'll have to deal with the winds too. That's another factor that we'll be facing over the coming days. So let's talk about that. The winds right now, gusting and very.
Get hit with the wind and that rain. And again, if you are along the coast, you will have that beach erosion and the high rip currents as well. So this is what we have right now. This is the Euro model. So I'm going to show you this model and also the GFS model. And I want you to really hone in where you're seeing the yellow, the orange. 3 to 5 inches you can see on this Euro model, but the bulk of it will be about 2 to 3. Now we switch this over to the GFS model, and we're still looking at 3 to 5 in some of that same areas, except for the fact that it extends a little bit further down off towards the south. So portions of Georgia will get in on that 3 to 5 and not just the Carolinas. So Tropical Storm Nicole, this goes into motion, and I really want to show you, of course, you can see what's happening as this begins to work its way and get closer to Florida, but I also want you to see how close these white lines are. So these are called isobars, tightly packed. That just basically shows you that it is going to be quite windy. Now look at this well away, still closely packed even as we go into the Carolinas. So the wind field is really going to extend outwards. We will have that heavier rain across the area moving through, and it's also going to just spread across the peninsula of Florida, and the extent will go up to the north and off towards the east before it's all said and done. So we can see this moving through Asheville, Raleigh, and even Wilmington. By the time we hit Friday at 8 o'clock, we are starting to be out of the woods further to the south, but then the thick of things will be all the way up to the north and east. Alex?
Well, things will not be so sunny by the sea as Nicole looks to storm the shores.
New alerts just issued, including hurricane warnings for parts of the east coast of Florida. So, Alex, things are really changing rapidly, even as of today.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, we got the hurricane warnings now that are up. So hurricane conditions, they are expected in the zone that you see the purple that's showing up. So essentially from just north of West Palm Beach, moving north from there up to around Daytona. And then we also have now hurricane watches south of West Palm to just north of the Miami area.
Right. So let's get you caught up on what else you need to know right now with this storm, Nicole. Governor Ron DeSantis has. So it is good news that we are dealing with the snow and the rain because we are in a drought and we will take what we can get. But we just don't want a whole lot at once because then that's when it poses a problem with some flooding. But in terms of the winter storm and the snow, I know a lot of you are happy about that. So we do have winter storm warnings up in portions of California. We have winter weather advisories out there around Elko, and we're also dealing with winter storm watches. So we have a little bit of everything going on this morning, and this goes right in through the next few days here. So we have the water vapor showing all the moisture where you're seeing the greens. So around Seattle, Eugene, Washington, Oregon, even down off towards California, getting in on the green. So plenty of moisture coming in, and then it moves further inland. So we can see what's happening around just the north of Denver. We can see this around the Dakotas as well. And all these places really do need that moisture, that rain, that snow. So we like to see this, and this is going to continue for the next couple of days. days. Now we take our eye to what's happening right now around San Francisco. Some heavy rain and really some thunderstorms really pushing in. That atmospheric river continues to move in with some snow across Montana. We're seeing this around Idaho as well. And that western winter storm is going to continue for the next several days here. Let's take this hour by hour as we continue through the rest of today. We see that mix of some rain, some snow out there, but really we're looking at the green coloring, and that's where we're seeing some of that rain much needed around LA. We're seeing this as we head over towards Las Vegas as well, and then it slides on up to the north where we're seeing more of that snow around Butte, around Jackson, even around Salt Lake City. Alex.
Well, of course, that same system, that's going to be
been in and out. The rain showers have been fleeting, but it's a good day to stock up. I was out last night trying to get some supplies, and one of the shelves at a grocery store already wiped out of water. So people do seem to be paying attention.
Well, good to hear that people are doing it. It's not great when you try to go there and find stuff, but it's good to know that people are taking it seriously and stacking up all the supplies that they need. In fact, sandbagging.
And we're looking at the fact that we do have some very gusty winds going on today, Alex. And we're going to continue with this, of course, as this starts to go downhill, as Tropical Storm Nicole continues to get closer to us.
Yeah, I mean, we got some of these buoys here in the waters that are measuring wind gusts. They're up over 40 miles per hour, closing in on 50. And even there on the coast, Jacksonville, you've been seeing a breezy day, gusts at 26 miles per hour at this time.
Yes, and we can see the wind field. So this wind field is a huge wind field. Looks, you can see the tropical storm, I should say, but around it, that's where we're really going to see that wind field. And we're talking about these tropical storms really extending very far from the center and off to the north in days to come. And you can see that small little area of purple there. That's going to be the hurricane force winds that we receive there.
Yeah, but you pointed this out earlier. This gray area, that is the projected path. So essentially the cone. Look at where the tropical storm force winds are. Way away from that area. So this is a prime example of that the conditions here will be felt well away from where this center of the circulation moves.
Yes, and that's why you do need to pay attention outside of that cone. And then we talk about the probability of tropical storm winds, and we can see the purplish color here. Yes, most of it offshore, but you can see that that starts to move inland as well, where you're seeing the reds and also the yellows.
So pretty much a foregone conclusion, at the very least, tropical storm conditions coming in, and then the hurricane warnings indicating the hurricane conditions are certainly expected as well. So let's time it out. We'll start you off again late this morning, getting to the afternoon. Again, a breezy day that's going to be had here for us along the East Coast, but even the West Coast starts to get breezy. This evening, you got Tampa at 20 to 25 mile per hour winds. That'll be gusty there.
Yes, so we're going to be talking about tropical storm force winds as we roll along. 10 o'clock in the morning, we can see around Vero Beach, 40 to 50 miles an hour.
And here comes that core overnight into Thursday, the strongest of the winds pushing on in.